Brother Medina for Tuesday, Seventh-day Adventist. And please let us start with a word of prayer. Loving Father, please be with us as we enter into this presentation. Bless our listeners that they may all understand the magnitude of what we are facing, that they may see the facts, and that they may prepare as the end is swiftly coming. In Jesus' holy name we pray. Amen. Well, we are continuing our personal talk, and we're in Personal Talk 8. Personal Talk 8. And we are continuing to show you the deterioration that has been taking place in the American system. And the reason why we were showing this is because according to Bible prophecy, the basic problem is the United States of America, and that problem is going to spread to the whole world. Bible prophecy tells us that the United States of America will speak like a dragon, which is the devil. And speaking like a dragon is taking away your three basic God-ordained rights. Your right to religious liberty, your right to life, your right to private property. And so, this power, we are told, will do this and persecute Christians. And we are told in verse 12 that he exercised the power of the first beast before him and caused the world and them that dwell therein to worship the first beast whose deadly wound was healed. The part we are looking at here in that verse is that he caused the world and them that dwell therein to worship the first beast. So in other words, we are being told in the Bible here that America, which is the problem, is going to cause the whole world into false worship. That country is going to lead the world into false worship. But to do that, they have to take away your religious liberty right. They have to take away your right to private property and ultimately your right to life. All this is seen in Revelation chapter 13. In verse 15 we are told, for those who would not worship the beast should be killed. Why does it say should be killed? Because they would lose their right to life. And in verse 16 and 17 we are told that we will have no right to buy or sell, except you have the mark of the beast. Now, not having the right to buy or sell is taking away your private property rights. So, in other words, Revelation chapter 13 explains that the United States will enforce false religion, but it will have to take away your rights and freedoms to do that. You say, well, the United States has a very complicated structure of legal system and political system that defers it from doing such a thing like this. And that's what our personal talk has been showing you. We have been showing you that this system, this political system, this legal system, this constitutional system has been slowly but surely changing. That's what we have been showing you. And we want to continue to show this to you. For instance, I have in my hand here a document, and the name of the document is People, Christians, Please Wake Up. Christian, please wake up. Let me quote for you. It tells us this. The Department of Homeland Security, DHS, that's in the United States, has purchased over 2 billion rounds of hollow point ammunition, enough to wage a 30-year war. Why is the Department of Homeland Security in America buying so much bullets? And hollow point bullets are, those kind of ammunition kills you when you get contact with it. When they shoot you with those kind of bullets, you die. There's no sense trying to take you to hospital to revive you or to remove the bullet. You die. Why are they buying so much billions of lethal bullets, the Department of Homeland Security in the United States, to use against whom? Their citizens. But it continues. The DHS, Department of Homeland Security, has purchased over 7,000 assault rifles, 15. The DHS calls them personal defense weapons, PDW. These are the same semi-automatic rifles with high-capacity magazines that when you and I buy them, they are called assault rifles. Plus, the DHS has purchased over 2,700 or 2,700 armored vehicles, the same kind that the U.S. military uses in Iraq and Afghanistan. The Department of Defense calls them MRAP, which is mine-resistant ambush protected. They carry .50 caliber weapons that fire from inside the vehicle. The vehicle itself is impervious to mines and small arms fire. They are the vehicle of choice for our combat troops in the Middle East. So who are they preparing to fight so in the United States? The law that they had called Posse Comitatus prevents a standing army from, United States standing army from being used to combat or any combat of their own people on their soil. But the Posse Comitatus law has already been thrown out by President Bush, and who were in power before, and currently President Obama. And furthermore, the United States physical territory itself, the land, has been declared a combat zone, which means the army can now go there to fight. Whom are they planning to fight there? What you are looking at is the slow but surely erosion of rights and freedoms and the protections that the American people enjoyed. But the point is, when they get into trouble, they're going to cause the world to worship false religion. So when they are in trouble, we are going to suffer also. So as you see these events coming there, you know it will affect the world. And we will be affected also. I continue. If that isn't disconcerting enough, we have now learned that the Department of Homeland Security has spent $2 million on producing shooting targets of American gun owners. These are called non-traditional threat targets. They include pregnant women, elderly citizens, mothers in playground, and even little children. These targets are produced by a company called Law Enforcement Targets Incorporated. The company calls these targets no more hesitation targets. Did you see that? So now, usually you see a person's taking target practice and you see a faceless outline of a person. And that's what you take your target practice against. But now this organization here that deals with government contracts for targets, Law Enforcement Targets Incorporated, they have produced something they call non-traditional targets. And in it they have pictures, colored pictures of pregnant women holding a child and holding a gun. Pregnant women also ready to labor but holding a gun. Little children holding a gun. A mother and father and children in a playground but holding a gun. An old granny, an old grandpa on his land holding a buckshot gun. The average teenager holding a gun. And all these targets, they are not outlines. They are actual colored pictures of the actual persons holding guns. And they are called, those targets are named no more hesitation. In other words, when soldiers are practicing on those targets, they are being told, don't hesitate to shoot. And that's the name of the target, no more hesitation. So they are actually preparing the minds of people, of the military forces, of the law enforcement agencies in the United States to kill non-traditional targets with no more hesitation. And that will be children, pregnant women, parents with their children in a playground, the old grandpa and grandma on their farm with their buckshot. These are what they are being trained to kill, the teenagers. In other words, what we have here, we have an orientation being placed upon the minds of the law enforcement services to target non-traditional targets and to kill people in the name of national security. And all this is the reason why they have been buying billions of bullets that can kill with one shot. This is why they have been buying so much tanks. We have seen video footage with so much tanks being carried into different parts of America and being placed there. So what do we have here? We have here, trouble is coming for that country. Yet people like to leave their country, go to America, and become an illegal immigrant. They stay there, they don't want to come back. Why don't you want to come back? The economy in the country is not good. And furthermore, trouble is coming. You will be caught in the midst of it as an illegal alien. There's nobody to protect you. There's nobody to record whom you are. You can just disappear like that under the National Defense Authorization Act and be found dead. So why are you going there? If you go for a visit and you come back, okay. If you go for some business and you come back, okay. But why are you seeking to be an illegal immigrant there? Why are you thinking about that? Do you think you will get happiness there? The point we are simply showing is that when America is affected by these things, it will affect you also. And this is why we have been warning you over and over in these personal talks. Now, in this document I have here, let me quote the name of it for you. I quote, the U.S. government believes that the founding fathers were terrorists. Did you see that? All on a sudden, documents have been going around declaring who the law enforcement agencies are to regard as terrorists. And in some of their documents, the founding fathers of the United States were considered terrorists. You see, I quote, government agencies such as FEMA are allegedly teaching that the founding fathers should be considered terrorists. Did you see that? They are telling people that the founding fathers of the United States should be considered terrorists. The government has a document in the United States that shows what it means to consider a person a potential terrorist. So, if you are considered a potential terrorist, you can be shot, you can be arrested, you can be sent to Guantanamo Bay, you can be assassinated with a drone, or anything, whether you are in your country or outside of your country.
While popular patriotic shows like American Guns are getting canceled, what is slated to air is a new AMC show coming up called We Hate Paul Revere, a sitcom set in 1772 Boston that features two brothers who literally, as the title suggests, hate patriot activist Paul Revere. Revere was known for his midnight ride through the New England countryside to warn Sam Adams, John Hancock, and other patriots and patriot militias along the way that British troops were coming to destroy colonial military stores. Why does AMC think it's okay to openly demonize patriot activists who helped found this nation like Paul Revere? Why is that all right? And it's not the first time we've seen it recently either. ABC is set to premiere a show called Founding Fathers, which portrays a fictional Texas militia controlling a small town. Head writer Rich Diovidio likened the main character to Donnie Brasco, an FBI agent infiltrator. Now flashback to Alex Jones' film Road to Tyranny, and this undercover video of a FEMA representative giving a presentation to a group of police officers.
Who was the first terrorist organization in the United States? Who?
Founding Fathers.
Founding Fathers. You mean Thomas Jefferson?
Oh, yeah.
You mean George Washington?
Oh, yeah.
Paul Revere?
Yeah.
Let me ask you something. Did they try to scare people?
Oh, yeah.
They tried to intimidate the British. Did they use acts of violence? Your founding fathers, my founding fathers, were involved in acts of terrorism.
The rep tells the cops the first terrorist organization in the U.S. was the Founding Fathers, including George Washington, Thomas Jefferson, and yes, even Paul Revere. So what is the standard dictionary definition of terrorism? 1. The use of violence and threats to intimidate or coerce, especially for political purposes. 2. The state of fear and submission produced by terrorism. 3. A terroristic method of governing or of resisting government. So by this definition, let's take a look at some actual terrorism. While the establishment tries to brainwash people that up is down and black is white, what's next for prime time? A sitcom called We Love Terrorists set to a laugh track? Or an Al-Qaeda reality TV show? In this time of outright attack on our republic and our Constitution, what we don't need is more media attacks on our founding fathers and patriot activists like Paul Revere. In fact, what we need is more Paul Reveres. We need 10,000 Paul Reveres to ride through the countryside and warn people about the tyranny that's enveloping our nation at this dark hour. For For InfoWars Nightly News, I'm Melissa Melton.
Who was the first terrorist organization in the United States? 1. The Founding Fathers. 2. The state of fear and submission produced by terrorism. 3. A terroristic method of governing or of resisting government. 4. A terroristic method of governing or of resisting government. 5. A terroristic method of resisting government. 6. A terroristic method of resisting government. 7. A terroristic method of resisting government. 8. A terroristic method of resisting government. 9. A terroristic method of resisting government. 10. A terroristic method of resisting government. 11. A terroristic method of resisting government. 12. A terroristic method of resisting government. 13. A terroristic method of resisting government. 14. A terroristic method of resisting government. 15. A terroristic method of resisting government. 16. A terroristic method of resisting government. 17. A terroristic method of resisting government. 18. A terroris
It's Friday, March 29th. I'm your host, Paul Joseph Watson. This is InfoWars Nightly News. Top story tonight, Fox drama, constitutionalists work for terrorist serial murderers, by Kurt Nimmo. Fox, the entertainment network founded by Rupert Murdoch and Barry Diller, is working with the federal government and the Southern Poverty Law Center in a concerted effort to demonize Americans identifying themselves as constitutionalists. And this is a new program that follows in the vein, of course, as we documented over the years, repeated, sustained attempts to demonize anybody who believes in the Constitution, libertarians, conservatives, across the political spectrum, you name it. Of course, 2011, we had the DHS-funded study, which came out and said that Americans who were, quote, reverential of liberty were likely terrorists. Then, of course, before that, we had the 2009 MIAC report, which demonized constitutionalists, Ron Paul supporters, gold owners, people who flew the Gadsden flag as terrorists. And it's been a sustained attack over the past several years. And here to talk more about that, how the entertainment industry is characterizing liberty lovers as extremists, is Jakari Jackson.
The cell tower linked to your wife is near a roadside motel on Highway 31.
Typically, there's 5 to 6 agents per safe house in a designated area away from the other guests.
I'm thinking an M17 or my micro Uzi with a silencer.
You ex-military? I don't know. We're better than that.
They were both raised by militia. Well, constitutional extremists, to be accurate.
The following, a Fox TV series starring Kevin Bacon, is the latest television program to demonize the militia. I'm Jakari Jackson with an InfoWars News Bulletin. Even though the Constitution guarantees the rights of a well-regulated militia, that has not stopped the mass media from portraying the militia in a negative light. Let's take a look at these clips where the hero fights militia antagonists.
Next Thursday, to save a young boy's life, Michael Weston takes on a militia.
They are locked down tight.
An unknown number of heavily armed militiamen have taken over the mine.
Plan to use the salt mine as their base during the Second American Revolution, which is, they claim, imminent.
More shows still, such as the in development We Hate Paul Revere and Founding Fathers.
The real programming is happening with these shows like Founding Fathers, where the guy that's pro-gun in Texas and leading the militia, he's really Al-Qaeda, which fits into the whole narrative that, oh, it's white Al-Qaeda or gun owners are really Al-Qaeda.
InfoWars has also documented subliminal propaganda in television shows such as AMC's Breaking Bad.
One example is AMC's Breaking Bad television series, as it depicts a meth villain as a Ron Paul supporter.
And we'll end with a clip of Alex Jones warning of such propaganda in his film Road to Tyranny. I'm Jakari Jackson with an InfoWars News Bulletin.
Who was the first terrorist organization in the United States? Who? Founding Fathers. You mean Thomas Jefferson?
Look at this guy. You know, he's talking about the Founding Fathers and people that are committed. He's talking about constitutional terrorists. Before that, the cops are so conditioned, they say, who are the terrorists? Who are the first terrorists? The Founding Fathers. They all know. They all say Founding Fathers.
But particularly, let's look at what I consider as a potential terrorist in the United States now. Look at how things have deteriorated. I'm quoting. Indeed, the government might consider you a potential terrorist if you take one of the following actions. Point number 1, if you speak out against government policies. Did you see that? If you speak out against government policies, you can be declared a terrorist. Number 2, if you protest anything, such as the Occupy movement in the United States. So in other words, if you protest anything in America, you can be considered a potential terrorist. Yes, my dear people, this is how far they are going. And these are serious charges, serious things that we're talking about here. These are documents they have for their Department of Homeland Security and the Department of Justice and the Army, the military. I continue. If you question war, if you are questioning war, etc. In other words, if you question why is the government going to war here in Libya, or why is the government going to war here in Afghanistan, or why is the government going to war in Iran, you could be considered a potential terrorist. Could you imagine that? This is how far things has gone. And you must remember, the President of the United States, through the National Defense Authorization Act and through the Patriot Act, can now just sign a document and declare an individual a terrorist, and then the Attorney General have to sign the document declaring you a terrorist also, and then they can send it to the Department of Homeland Security. And it is up to them what they do with you, whether you are assassinated, taken to Guantanamo Bay, jailed, or raided, or brought to justice, or whatever. But once you do these things, you can be considered a potential terrorist and therefore a target for the security forces in America. I continue. If you are having bumper stickers saying things like, know your rights or lose them. Did you see that? If you're saying, know your rights or lose them, things like that would mean that you are considered a terrorist, a potential terrorist. Furthermore, next point, if you are taking pictures or videos, so if they see you with a camera taking pictures or videos anywhere in the country or in the city, they consider you a terrorist. You can be considered a potential terrorist. For that reason, you, as a tourist, maybe in the United States, and you may find some buildings looking beautiful, and you may take your little personal camera, or your little phone camera, or your little iPad, and you may be just taking pictures of the buildings that you find look so nice. They would say, oh, 9/11. They're taking pictures of the buildings to throw them down with some kind of bomb. This is a potential terrorist, and you could be arrested. This is the pure facts. This is the horrible facts about the matter. You can be arrested. Furthermore, if we are being told again what it means to be a potential terrorist, if you are seen talking to police officers, what does this mean? It means if a police stop you and ask you a question like, what are you doing here, and so on, and you're talking back to the police and tell them, I have rights, I could be here, why are you stopping me, what did I do wrong, and so on. If you're seen talking to police officers like that, you are considered a potential terrorist. Could you imagine that? How stupid can things have turned? And it has turned so terrible. Next point, writing on a piece of paper. Writing on a piece of paper. If they see you, let us say, in the city, and you have a paper in your hand, your head raised up, your head look down, and you're writing on the paper, they can think that you are writing down something for some terrorist attack. So you can be considered a potential terrorist just by writing on a piece of paper anywhere in the United States, in the cities. And these are the statements and documents showing what is a potential terrorist. It continues. Potential terrorist. Not having a Facebook account. Did you know what this means? So, in other words, you're on Facebook, and they check you on Facebook, and they see you, and they say, but wait, let's check this person, and they find that you don't have a Facebook account. So then they could say, well, okay, you're on Facebook saying your stuff, but you don't have a Facebook account because you want to hide. As a result of that, you're considered a potential terrorist. Did you see that? These are the markers given to the law enforcement services. The Department of Homeland Security has brought out these statements saying what is a potential terrorist, and these are the things they are saying is a potential terrorist. Next point, being frustrated with mainstream ideologies. What does this mean? If they get you making statements that show you dislike republicanism, you dislike democracy, you dislike the open economic system, you dislike free trade, they will say, oh, this person has a kind of an anti-state or anti-society ideology. Therefore, this is a potential terrorist. That's how they're reasoning. That's how they're reasoning. The next point again, valuing online privacy. Valuing online privacy. If they find you protesting for online privacy, that the government shouldn't be peeping at what you're doing, and nobody should be tracing what you're doing because you're supposed to have privacy online, then they will tell you, well, look, you want privacy online because you have something to hide, and it could be potential terrorist acts. So you are considered a potential terrorist just by valuing online privacy. Did you see that? Next point, being anti-tax, anti-regulation, of or for the gold standard. Yes, my dear people. So if you are saying that people shouldn't be taxed, that government taxation has gone overboard, you can be considered a potential terrorist. If you say the gold standard right? There should be no regulation of the gold standard. People should be free to own gold and use gold as money if they so wish. They say that you are against the natural ideological order of economics in the U.S., therefore you are a potential terrorist. Yes, my dear people, that's what they are saying here. Next point, being reverent of individual liberty. Being reverent of individual liberty. If they find that you like individual liberty, that is supposed to have individual rights and individual liberty, they say, well, this person who believes they have individual liberty can do that to do some harm. Therefore, they consider you a potential terrorist. Did you see that? The document continues. If you believe in conspiracy theories, now imagine this. If you believe in conspiracy theories, they will consider you a potential terrorist. If you believe there's a plot to destroy the U.S. Constitution, a plot to bring a new world order, a plot to do such and to do such, a plot for the Jews to take over society, a plot for the Jews to take over economics, a plot with Hollywood trying to educate children into ungovernable morals, that the New World Order can use that to take over society. Oh, you are a potential terrorist. That's what they're telling you if you believe in conspiracy theories. Our next point, if you hold a belief that one's personal and or national way of life is under attack. So if you hold the idea, our personal way of life, our national way of life is under attack by forces of the government, change agents, to bring about a new paradigm shift in people's thinking about morals and culture and values, like with sodomy and so on. If you hold to that, you are considered a potential terrorist. Yes, my dear people. Our next point. If you have supported political movements for autonomy, right now there are about 11 United States there are 11 states from the United States that are seeking autonomy or to break away and become independent nations. Texas is one of them. Arizona is another one. If you show any belief to support political movements for autonomy, they call you a potential terrorist. You might do terrorist acts to encourage it, so you are a potential terrorist. That's how they view you. Our next point, if you are suspicious of centralized federal authority, you're suspicious of centralized federal authority. The federal government is doing so much wrong. The federal government is taking away our rights and freedoms. Any kind of suspicion of centralized federal authority, which means you can probably shoot the president or shoot somebody or bomb up something, therefore they consider you a potential terrorist. Next point, if you are fiercely nationalistic as opposed to universal and international orientation, so they're trying to bring in what you call an international way of thinking, an exchange of different cultures and so on, a plurality of cultures and nations in your country, and you stand to be fiercely nationalistic. No, I am American, and American has its principles of Americanism. You, they consider as an extreme rightist, therefore a potential terrorist. And that's how their documents have it. Another point, if you are opposing to surveillance, what does that mean? If the government has drones peeping on people and various cameras peeping on people, and you consider these things to be wrong, that it should not be, we should not have this round-the-clock surveillance from government, they say you have something to hide, therefore you are a potential terrorist. Yes, my dear people, this is what has been going on in the United States. The point we are looking at, my dear people, is that changes are taking place and that the country that once used to be the so-called land of the free and the brave has now changed. There's nothing like that anymore. And all this is preparing people to face the end. Before these things happen, God has warned us that these things are going to happen very soon, that our rights and freedoms are going to be taken away very soon, and as a result of that, we need to prepare for the end, which is swiftly coming. And we have told you these things to warn you, for you to know what kind of things are going on in the United States of America. My dear people, the Bill of Rights that was crafted in 1789 in the United States is now what we call an unrecognized document by government leaders. As a result of that, you have lost your rights and freedoms once you are American through all these new bills that they are now bringing out. The National Defense Authority Act, the Patriot Act, and other bills that have been brought about have now taken away people's rights and freedoms. Yes, my dear people. And all this is preparing for the new world order on their part, but it will be encouraging the government to further persecute people and to further bring about a form of governance that will enforce religion upon people. And while they enforce religion upon people, they will be taking away your rights and freedoms. That's Revelation chapter 13. So before those events come, we are actually seeing signs of it coming. We are getting evidence that they are coming. And as a result of that, we know that we are living almost in the end of this earth's history. Yes, my dear people. And these are the things that have been going on for quite a long while. And the news media, which don't appreciate things of these import like freedoms, individual liberty, republicanism, the inalienableness and inviolability of rights and freedoms. The media that don't recognize those things have not been showing you news to show these rights are going and these freedoms are going. And this is the reason why we here are warning you, because we want you to know that you need to escape for your life, as this program is named. We want you to know that Jesus Christ is coming soon. You need to have a change of character. You need to let God, who does the change you. In Romans chapter 8 and verse 33, we are told, who shall lay any charge to God's elect? It is God that justified. Did you hear that? God is the one that justifies you. God is the one that makes you righteous. God is the one that changes you. You've got to recognize this important thing. God did not call you into Christianity for you to change yourself. God's call to you is telling you that He will change you, and therefore He will show you how to live the change that He has brought in you. Yes, my dear people. And this is the reason why you need to understand this very carefully. You need to be justified. You need to be made righteous. You need the righteousness of Christ, which is offered to you, the human agent, through the faith of Jesus Christ, by the gift of the Holy Spirit, when God imputes it unto you. All this you need to understand, that you will prepare for the end, which is swiftly coming, because a whole lot of trouble is coming upon humanity. The question is, how will people be saved? How will you be protected? You can only be protected by the grace of God. This is the reason why you need the grace of God to be protected, because changes are coming. And this is the reason why we have told you these things. We have told you these things to show you how late time is. But we need to talk a little more in the future about another thing. We need to show you that new documents have been circulating in the Department of Justice, the DOJ, and the Department of Homeland Security, the DHS, that are now declaring Christians terrorists or potential terrorists. We want to read some of those documents to you. We're going to have to show you that in the next program. But we want you to know, look at horrible things that are taking place. Apart from all of that, great things are taking place in nature. Signs in the sun, signs in the moon. Did you know why May was so hot, one of the hottest months? Do you know NASA video footage shows huge explosions on the sun? Some of them the largest the sun has ever seen. Explosions that can engulf more than 1,000 Earths. All this has caused the sun to emit more heat and has caused what we call the terrible heat waves that countries were experiencing. Christ said there will be signs in the sun. What about the moon? Do you know, about 2 weeks ago, a huge rock, a gigantic rock, fell on the moon and hit the moon. And there was a great explosion that if you were watching at the moon with your naked eye, you would have seen that flash of explosion on the moon. Jesus said signs in the sun and signs in the moon. Look at changes that are taking place. Look at what is going on. Nature is revolting as we are coming close to the end. And you need to prepare for the end which is swiftly coming. We have said these things to wake you up, that you would know that you have protection in Jesus Christ. Give yourself a chance. Give him a chance to change you and to make you different. Accept Jesus as your personal Savior before it is too late. Because you need a little more time to cultivate the character of Christ under the help of the Holy Spirit. So, may God bless you as you take these things serious. Until we meet again, in Jesus' holy name.